Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, I'll be discussing about how to communicate between two microservices. So you can see on my screen like there is one microservice which is user microservice and another microservice is order microservice. And let's say user has created an order and order data is in the order service and user wants to get that orders data. So how the users will get that orders data from the order service. So in this video I'll be discussing that in detail, like how we are going to make that API call from the user service to the order service in order to get that user orders data. So watch the video till end and let's see how we are going to do that in detail. So let me go to the IntelliJ. So here you can see I have user service and order service. So order service will have that orders data and user service will have that users data. So let me give you brief about the user service and order service, then we will discuss that how we are going to make that API call from the user service to the order service. So in the user service, this is normal Spring Boot project. In user service you will have that users data. So I will not discuss about the project structure and all because that I have already discussed so many times. So but I'll give you the brief about the user microservice. So user microservice has user controllers where I have data for creating a users, getting user details and getting that users orders data. And similarly I have this exception for handling that exception. Then you have model DTO where you have the users data. So you are mapping this to the database table and making this class as an entity so that you can save that users data into this database. So this is the model for the users data. Then we have this user repository and then you have this user service where you are writing all the custom logics. And let me go to the application.properties. So here you have all the configuration for the database so that when you create a new user you should be able to save those data into the DB. So this is all about that user microservice, and this is my order client. About this class I'll be discussing in detail when I explain you about how we are going to make that communication from the user service to the order service. Now let me go to order service. So in order service you will have that all the API related to the order. So here you can see I have two API, one API for creating a order which is post API and one API for getting user orders data. So you need to pass that for which user you want to get that orders data, and this will return you the detail of the order of that particular user whose ID is passed in the API. So similarly we have this order entity class where I have this field user ID product and quantity. So this is again an entity class so that you can save that data into the database. Then you have order repository where you have a method called find by user ID where we are passing user ID so that it returns you the list of orders of that particular users. Then you have order service for getting orders and saving that orders, and similarly you have this configuration where you are giving all the configuration for the database. So this was all about the user service and order service. Now let's back to our main topic of today, that how we are going to make that communication from the user service to order service. Already created a user and a order, and I will try to make a call from the user service to microservice. So before I do that, and let me tell you about the database as well. So I am using a Postgres database as well. So before that, let me tell you about the database. Here I am using PostgreSQL. So let me go to the pgadmin. Pgadmin is the interface for the PostgreSQL. So here you see I have two database. You can see one database which I have is order DB, and one database which I have is for CRUD DB. So in CRUD DB I am using to save users data, and orders DB I am using to save that orders data. So let me run this query, and here you see I have only one user whose ID is 1, email ID is john@example.com, and name is John Doe. Similarly, let me go to the orders table and let me run this query again, and here you can see I have created a one order for user 1. You can see that user ID column has value called 1, so this order belongs to the user whose ID is 1. So this is all about the database, and now let me go to IntelliJ. Now I'll discuss about how we are using this Feign client and other things to enable in the microservices to make communication from one microservice to other microservice. So let me go to user microservice. So user microservice is a Gradle project, and order microservice is a Maven project. So we'll see. Let me go to build.gradle file, and here you see you need to add the dependency for the Feign client in order to enable that communication between from one microservice to another microservice event. This will allow you to get all the jars which are required for this communication between two microservices. So you need to add this dependency in your project, and you need to add this enable Feign client annotation in order to enable this communication through Feign client in your application. So you need to add this. Once you added the dependency and you have added this annotation in your project, you will have all the required things to make that call from one microservice to another microservice. So now let's see. When you use Feign client, you need to create an interface, so that where you declare all the API for which you want to make a call. So here you can see on my screen I have created an order client because I am trying to make a call from user microservice to the order microservice. So I have created this order client where I have passed these attributes in the Feign client, which is name of the microservices and the URL where it is running. So name of the microservice, in my case it is order microservice, and it is running on my local host, and the port is 8082. So this is all about the Feign client and attribute we are passing, and then you need to give the detail of the API for which you want to make a call. So I want to make a call for the get orders API by users ID. So I have given this API which has URL as orders, users, and user ID, and user ID is a path variable. I need to pass that user ID for which user I want to get the orders data. So this is the API that is written in the order microservice that I will show you in a while. And let me go to the API in the users controller where I am making this call. So here you can see we have three APIs, one for creating user, one for get users, and one for get users orders. So this is the API where I am making call from user microservice to the order microservice. So you can see that we are passing that user ID here as a path variable, and this user ID will be passed to the order service microservices where order service will return the users data from that particular user ID. So now let me go to this get user orders, which is in the service. So I'll go to user service. Let me go to this method, and this method has this another calling order client get orders by user ID, and this order client is nothing but that order client which we have created to call that API from the order service. So if you go to this get orders by user ID, so here you see I have already discussed about this class which is nothing but the order client we need to create when we want to have a communication from one microservice to another microservice through Feign client. So get orders by user ID method is here, and this method is defined in the order microservice that we'll discuss in a while. So let me go to now order microservice, and here you can see that right now the API which was getting called is this user by user ID. This is the same API which is getting called in the user microservice, and this takes as a user id as a path variable which is passed from that user microservice, and you will get this as a user id from the path variable. And once you get that id, here we are making a call to the order service, get order by user id, and then we are making call this to the database. So order repository, has find by user id method, and that will return the order of a data for that particular user. So now if you go to this method, this is a repository, and here you have defined a method to get that user's order data. So this is user microservice and the order microservice that I have explained. If you have any doubt regarding both the microservices, then let me know in the comment section. I'll be happy to help you. And now let me execute both the microservices, and we'll see that whether this is working as expected or not. So before I run this execute, I will tell you one more thing, like you need to run both the microservices on a different port. So my one microservice is running on 8080, another microservice is running on 8082, so that I can show you here. You can see that this is order service, and order service is running on port 8082, which I have defined in the application.properties file. And user microservice will be running on default port, which is nothing but 8080. So here you see I have not given any port, so it will run on the default port of the Spring Boot, which is nothing but 8080. So let me execute this application. So I will start this application. I will start first user microservice. So user microservice is started. Now I'll run order microservice. Order microservice also started. Here you can see that this is running on 8082. So I have already shown you the database. I have already shown you in database, like I have one user and one orders which is related to that particular users whose id is 1. So I'll show you again. So let me go to first user. So let me run this query, and here you can see that I have only one user whose id is 1 and name is John Doe. And let me go to the orders. So I'll select that orders also. So here you can see that right now, just for demonstration, I have only kept one order and one user. So there is only one order which has product is equal to keyword and quantity is 2 and the user id is 1. So user whose id is 1 has order data is this. So now we'll see that we are getting this product keyword and quantity 2 are not in the response when we try to get that user details. So let me go to Postman. So here we have this order collection and CRUD collection. So inside you can see I have this get order and create order. So if you run this get order, you should be able to get that order of that user whose id is 1. So here you can see that we are getting this detail of the order whose user id is 1 and order id is 1. Since there is only one order in the database, I am getting only one order. If there are more than one orders, you will be getting the list of all the orders here. So you can see that this is returning that array. So response is the array of the data. So this is the API to get the order data in the order microservice. But now I want to make a call from the user microservice to the order microservice. So this API should be called from the user microservice implicitly. So let me go to the get users, this user by id. So here you can see that I am passing this user id is 1 and I want that orders data of this user. So this will make a call from the user microservice to the order microservice, and it will get the data from the order microservice and send back to the user microservice in response. So now I'll make a call to this, and here you can see that again I am getting that data whose id is 1, user id is 1, product is keyboard, and quantity is 2. So I am able to get the data from the order microservice to the user microservice. So this is how we make a communication from one microservice to the other microservice, because nowadays most of the project are built on the microservices, so it is very oftenly needed to have a communication from one microservice to the other microservice. So we use this Feign client to make a call from one microservices to the other microservices, so that it is easier for us to maintain the project and get the data as and when it is needed. So I'll just show you one more thing, like I'll just create a new user and I'll create a new order, and then I'll try to show you like whether I'm getting that data or not. So let me go to the create user API, and here I'll just create a new user, Jack, and let me create that user. So here you see I created a new user, and you can see that in database as well. So you will have two users now. So here you see we have got two users. Now I'll create orders corresponding to this user. So let me show you now. In the order database you have only one order data, so let me create a order now. So I want to create a order for user ID 2. So here let me give you product is equal to laptop, and quantity I'll give as 10. So I'll create a order corresponding to user 2. So now if you go back to the database and see, here you should be able to see that order is created against user ID 2. So we are able to save that data in the DB as well. So now if I go to this API and I want to get the data of user whose ID is 2, so in the response I should be able to get that order which I created, whose product is laptop and quantity is 10 and user ID is 2. So let me make a call. So you see I got that detail of the order which I created for the user 2. So user ID is 2 and product is laptop and quantity is 10. So this is how like we make a communication. I'll just give you one more. So let me create one more order, so that if there is two order created for a user ID, I am getting that response in the API or not. So I'll just create another order for user 2 mobile, and I'll give quantity as 11. So let me go to the user service and I'll make a call again this, and here you can see that I'm getting two orders which is created against the user ID 2. A user can have more than one order created against his user ID. So you will have that response list of orders data. So this is how we'll make a call from the one microservice to another microservice. And I hope that I was able to make you understand like how we communicate between two microservices. So if you have any doubt or if you have any challenges in understanding, let me know in the comment section. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.